Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. Welcome, Keisha, Alex, Jay, and Alex again. Thank you guys so much for joining today. We have these SPYs slowly selling off this morning in pre-market. Nothing too crazy to the upside or the downside. But Tom, let's take a look at Target real quick. So we've had a lot of retail earnings this week. Target actually reported some pretty good earnings, and they still fell, which is actually good to see. They have a $15 billion share buyback program. They raised their forecast and they beat on their earnings and their revenue and their EPS. So all across the board, they had some pretty good earnings, pretty good news, and stock still fell, which is good to see because we've been playing put debits on them.
Yeah, it's actually a really good thing for us. And, hopefully it ends up going even lower today at market open. It looks like it is actually recovering up a little bit. And like you said, they had pretty good numbers. Their EPS beat, their revenue beat. And then, like you said, that $15 billion buyback, like that's not a small buyback by any means. That's quite a bit of money in the market there. And I would expect that to help Target actually get up here in the short term. But it looks like right now it is making it go down. So hopefully it open, we kind of catch that momentum and keep this downwards momentum going this morning, because man, I'd really like to see them get back down there towards like 245 or even 242 at the low. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. And then Tom, let's take a look at like the daily chart for Target, because like you said, a $15 billion buyback is not small by any means. So I think just investors realize how overextended Target is to the upside, and that's why we're seeing that selling pressure. So hopefully we get a nice fall down. And then let's welcome everyone else to the stream. Welcome AJ in Maine and Vicky too. Thank you guys so much for joining. We have AJ saying, is cost going to hit a wall soon? Let's take a look. So in a way, their chart looks kind of similar to Target, but I'm more confident in Target. I can definitely see Costco hitting a wall. It just looks like Target already did. So to answer your question, yeah, probably. But if you're looking for a play right now, I would say Target's a little bit better.
Yeah, it is. It's already kind of in that play, like Mike said. With Costco, you're kind of still waiting for it to play out. Once it falls below, I'd say, once we get down towards 445 or something, I think it would be pretty good. But yeah, just looking at Target, it definitely has that downward momentum that people have been kind of looking for. And who knows, if Target pops up today and retests this resistance at 252, that could maybe be a good entry point. Or even right now, it even looks like a decent time to enter into some puts. I know it is going up right now at open, but I wouldn't think we get back above 252, which was that high of pre-market here.
All right, so welcome Matthew and Iranical for joining. Tom, another thing I wanted to talk about was Palantir. So let's take a look at Palantir. They popped up on earnings, and this was a very interesting article I read yesterday. Basically, Palantir bought $50 million worth of gold bars in August. Legit gold bars. So I don't know, I just thought that was an interesting read, and as gold has been kind of all over the place, and I just wanted to point that out to everyone because I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it shows that gold should hold up for the long term. Even if gold goes down very slightly in the short term, if you hold actual physical gold, the chances of that going up over the next 5 years are pretty high. Gold generally rises year over year, even if it ends up down for a couple years, like we saw here in 2018 and 2019. It kind of dipped down, but it saw that resurgence right back up with all those problems going on, especially COVID. That really made gold start to fly up. But just looking at it, I think that's really interesting, Mike, and it just shows that a lot of companies are really still they're still bullish on gold. A lot of times gold is really out of the headlines nowadays with Bitcoin and everything else going on. There's just so many other things. Commodities have been kind of pushed to the side as far as the headlines go. So just looking at it, I really like gold, and I think for the long term it'll really hold up. And I think that this is just more proof that these big buyers still like it.
There we go. And another thing that I think it shows is the executives at Palantir, they have a lot of cash on the sideline. That's what the article was referring to. And they must think inflation will be high, because if they didn't, they wouldn't invest money into gold. You know what I mean? So I just think it's an interesting situation. But let's see what's moving on in the market today. It looks like Apple is really bouncing up to start the day. They're only up point, you could say 0.2%, but it's a pretty big candle.
Man, I hope that they can keep going up here today. They had that pretty good past couple days, but yesterday was a pretty bad day after they hit that double top up there around 150, 170. Ended up coming right down, but yeah, it does have some good momentum today, and looks like we might head up towards like 151, maybe get towards that high of 150, 170, but we'll just have to see how the movement ends up going. I would say on the 1 minute, looks like we are kind of getting towards some resistance in pre-market around like 150.70.
There we go. And then Tom, UPST just keeps going. Literally every day, like just tons of buyers keep flowing in.
Yeah, they do actually. I cannot believe this one's continuing to rise again this morning. It seems like every day it opened, this stock likes to go up. Even if it goes down in the middle of the day or something random, it still loves to fly up and open. Can't believe what we're seeing here. And look at the max daily chart. Just tons of green candles here ever since it gapped up. And even the day it gapped up, that was like honestly more of like a red can or more of a green candle than a red candle. It's just ended up closing bad, but I still like the movement here. And I would think, Mike, we might be running up towards these all-time highs. We might get up there and break them over the next day or two with this type of momentum. I mean, man, it's continuing to rise. And, I was maybe expecting it to start to fall off, but it's just continuing to keep that momentum going.
All right, and then what are you thinking of AMC? Like, the momentum's there, and we just broke above that 38 resistance.
Yeah, we did. That's a pretty big level to break above. It was the high in pre-market today too, and I actually really like it. I think we might head up towards this $40 resistance later on today. And just looking at AMC, I really like the movement with it on the daily chart, even on the intraday chart. It's looking good too. A lot of momentum off that $30 support a couple days ago. I really think it looks pretty strong right here, and I think a lot of buyers came in at $30. Now, do I think it's going to go up to $5,000 guaranteed? No, I don't. But do I think it could possibly go up to like $45 or $50 again? I do. So I think it could be good over the next few weeks, especially with it hitting support and everything. But now, I liked it more of off support. Now we're already getting like 10 points, 8 points away from support. So, we're getting a little higher now. Like I said, we're at that 40 resistance. So it's a little hard to say to buy in now, but I liked it off $30.
Alrighty, so yeah, it's interesting. It has momentum, so we'll see what happens with it. I'm looking at a couple different stocks this morning. It looks like the one with the most momentum is AMC, which is interesting to see. And then we have Mac saying hopped into some GM calls at market close yesterday for an overnight swing. Feeling confident. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's looking really good. It's up like 1% or so right now, and it's having a really nice bounce off that $50 support.
Yeah, it is actually. And I've really been eyeing up like GM and Ford over the past couple of weeks as they've been kind of falling off the table here with each other. And it's been kind of like a nice little downturn for both companies. It's creating some good opportunities. And I'm glad to see just both of them going down. I think both are going to be good for the longer term, especially with the EV sector kind of, getting a little bit bigger. And as these guys are investing into EVs, like they've been coming out with articles saying over the next like 10 to 15 years, half their fleets are going to be electric and stuff like that. And those are pretty big numbers. So we'll have to see what ends up going on. But I am bullish on both of them for the next couple of years. And I'm glad to see them falling off like this. It's going to create a lot of opportunities to sell puts and stuff like that. And I love what you said, Mike. General Motors off of $50 seems really good. And $50 is definitely a long-term support level that we hit back in January and February.
There we go. Yeah, so UPST and AMC are kind of like stealing the show so far. Lots of momentum with both of them. Another stock I was looking at was Square. Like, it's having a pretty good day.
Yeah, it is. Square's really starting to pop up 1.9%. That's a pretty big day for them. And, they've been really bouncing off this 258 support actually pretty strongly. Bounced off of it like 3 times yesterday, 1 time the day before. And they actually broke out today up through the 1,000 SMA through a lot of good technicals. And I honestly could maybe see them going back up for the next like couple weeks or maybe for like the next couple days at least. But really looking at it, they've been pulling back for like 1, 2, 3 for about 7 days or 8 days here now in a row. So I'm really glad to see them kind of breaking back to the upside, and they're holding that 260 support, like I said.
There we go. All right, and even Tesla's moving pretty well. It's up like 2% or so, which isn't the biggest dollar amount wise, but you look at just the chart from open, and they have a lot of momentum.
Yeah, they do, and I'm glad to see them going up. Man, they were really falling off after the past couple days. I mean, man, they hit like 720, and then just fell straight down to like 650. Well, that was a pretty bad couple days there for them, and they really fell below that 700 support. Hopefully they can get back up and retest that, or maybe go back through. But I would say, there is resistance coming up today, right around like 680. I'd really watch out for there, and then I'd watch out for somewhere around 686. I think we might start to slow down somewhere around there. And 686, we actually had a weird candle in pre-market yesterday that kind of touched right there. So it looks like that could be a pretty good resistance later on today.
All right, and then we have Alex saying, do you see Roku might recover a bit today? Maybe. It is holding its ground right now. It's just literally in the exact middle of its range right now, like intraday. There's a pretty big support right at 350, and then a pretty big resistance at 360, and it's at 355. So it's like in the exact middle. So it's like, we'll probably need like another maybe like 15 to 20 minutes to get like a better estimation.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too. It's just sitting right between there. And, you would think on the daily chart it might hold this level and go up. But, if it breaks this, it's going to be really risky to keep holding it. It could really start to fall off. And with this double top here, it's kind of scary. So be really careful with it and make sure it definitely, picks one of those directions.
All right. So let's just take a look at the SPY, Tom, because I know like everyone always checks it out, and a lot of people were looking at SPY puts for the next couple weeks or so. Like, what levels do you have for us? Like, what are like some like the top levels to watch, over the next couple days?
Yeah, with the SPY, I think a solid resistance level is going to be right up here around 444. I think that's going to be a really big level as far as a level to the upside. And I do like the support that we're at, though. It's kind of sitting right around like 443. You could say like 442.75, somewhere like really close to there. I think it looks pretty good, possibly for like a quick bounce intraday. But I would say that there's more of a support down here right around 440. So I would really look for it to keep going down. It looks like it is starting to slide off. And even though today, like we're getting a little bit of green here at open, we're still below a lot of these SMAs on the 1 minute chart I'm looking at. But really the major level I'm looking at is that 440 support and then the 444 resistance. I think if we get like a big green candle and we're up through 444, we could start to head back up towards all-time highs over the next couple days. But personally, I think we might hit 444 or somewhere really close, and then maybe start to go back down towards 440.
Gotcha. And then we have Maine saying, thought today is the day Baba turns around. Guess not. I mean, it's still pretty early, and honestly, I could see it turning around today. It's just like, part of me wants to sell puts on this one, but part of me doesn't even want to hold shares if I were to get assigned.
Yeah, it's a really scary situation. China just keeps coming out with this bad news, and just, I know they can't really control their economic news, but, they've been hitting all these companies with hard regulations and all this stuff. So I'm really not surprised to see bad economic numbers coming out now. And, just it's terrible to see Baba and these companies falling through these supports. Like Baba fell through 200. I thought that was terrible. Now we're even falling through 180, which is even worse. So like it just keeps getting worse for Baba. And you're right, Mike. Like it's so tempting to sell those puts, but if you did get the shares, you'd probably just want to almost just let them go right away, just because China has just been crazy lately. You don't know how low these companies are going to go. And who knows, like if we start to get into like a big conflict with them or something, then these stocks might get taken off the market. Like anything weird could happen with China.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I was also looking at Baidu. I mean, the setup's like basically the same.
Yeah, but personally, like, I don't know, Mike. I think for the long term, like getting shares might be good, but it's so risky with it being China. But I would think for the long term, the companies would hold up and do, pretty well themselves. I just don't know how the China, factor is going to be.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and then we have Keisha saying Netflix is looking good this morning. Let's take a look. NFLX, it is up like 1%, and you're right, it is looking pretty good. It has a pretty good candle so far. Lots of momentum. It just broke out of that range right at like 523, you can say, and it's breaking out.
Yeah, I really like the movement on Netflix right now. This setup on the daily looks pretty good with these green days the past few days. Looks like it's going to start heading back up towards like 550 or somewhere really close to that. I know that Netflix can be kind of hard to trade sometimes. Like, for example, they just went flat for like the past few weeks. So, they could possibly do that, but I would expect a kind of a move up now that we've been sitting there for so long. And it's just one of those stocks, like, for example, it's a big tech stock, and I would hope that they end up going up, just given the setup and everything. I love the way they're kind of turning up here. They're holding these SMAs, and the daily just looks pretty strong, Mike. Like for like just all the green candles and just all the momentum that we're seeing on the intraday chart as well. It just seems like that we could really get a pop possibly back up over the next few days.
Gotcha. All right, and then VIAC is kind of popping off, and I feel like a lot of people are like overlooking this one because it struggled so much over the past year. But this one has good momentum, and I think it definitely has a lot of potential.
Yeah, VIAC I think could. It's really hard for me to give a good opinion on Viacom. I haven't done too much research into them, but these are the guys who got hurt with the GameStop trade, right?
Not the GameStop trade. It was the Archego scandal. You can say it's when Bill Huang was like way over leveraged, and then all the big banks kind of like force sold him out.
Oh, I got you, but he wasn't over leveraged into GameStop, right?
Yes, not into GameStop. It just
Oh,
kinda,
I got. Oh, okay. I always thought he was over leveraged into GameStop. Okay.
No,
but
he was over leveraged into like VIAC and like a lot of I don't want to say a lot of other companies, but like a couple other companies.
I got you. So now he's just trying to, come back, bring the fun back almost. So like, yeah, maybe I think it could be a good play for the long term. It's just for the short term, anything can happen with this one. It's just it did actually get down there by support though over the past few days, down there around $38, $40. Not looking too bad for like a long term play with shares, I don't think, or maybe selling puts on. I'm not sure. Like Mike, how do you think the leaps are looking on this one?
I mean, it's not my favorite play in the world, but I do think it looks good actually. Like, let me check out the pricing. Like, let's say we went out to, I know this is a lot of time, but let's say we went out to like January of 2023. I mean, yeah, the pricing's not bad on them. If you got like an in the money 40 strike call for January of 2023, it'll cost you like 800, and your break even's only 48. So it's really not bad when you think about it. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider it.
Man, do you see that crazy open interest on the 30 strike for January of 2023?
Let's see. Let me pull it up real quick. Oh, wow. Like 40K, 45K. Wow.
Yeah, I cannot believe I'm seeing that on there. Like, man, someone big is in on this. And I'll be honest, just looking at it on the chart, Mike, like if this stock starts to get a big bounce, like back to the upside after having that huge, that huge sell-off, I mean, man, that'll be a pretty big gain for whoever's holding some calls on that one.
Yeah, I mean, good eye for sure. I'm gonna look into this one a little bit later. So that's crazy. And then we have AJ saying DFKG for a day trade today. So I checked that ticker and there wasn't anything there. So I assume you're referring to DraftKings. If not, just let us know and we'll take a look at whatever ticker you want. But DraftKings is popping up today. I know that they had a deal with, I believe, the Baltimore Ravens that they just signed. Baltimore Ravens names DraftKings the official daily fantasy, sports betting, and free-to-play partner. So that's good. My stock DraftKings are always making deals and all that stuff. So I like them. They're up like 0.6% today. They have good momentum, but it's not great, to be honest with you. So, if we see like a breakout above 52, that should be good, or maybe even like a retest of that support at 51.
Yeah, they did kind of bounce off this SMA off the 1,000, so it doesn't look too bad, but yeah, they were kind of sliding off for a few days there, so maybe expect a nice little bounce back up. There is kind of a big support around 50, so I think maybe we could go up over the next few days, but I really like the stock, and I think that with that momentum this morning, as long as that continues up and maybe later today, we might get a pop over the next few days.
Sounds good. And then we have Maine saying thoughts on Microsoft. So let's take a look. It's popping up very, very well this morning. There's that resistance right around 295, which is actually like basically the all-time high. Personally, I don't think we're going to see like a solid continuation up like over like the next or throughout the rest of the week. That's just my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but honestly, that 295 resistance is looking pretty strong.
Yeah, it is actually. 295 looks pretty big. They hit there right at the end of the day on Monday, and it looks like they hit like 294.82, so really close. I would say that's definitely going to be a big resistance, so watch out for that there. And as far as the support, I think 291 seems pretty good, but seems like there's a lot of levels here to the downside.
Yep. And then we have, looks like AMD is kind of selling off. I just checked my momentum scanner, and it looks like AMD is towards the top of that list, but to the downside.
Yeah, I saw that this morning actually. They started to fall down off that like 108 resistance that they hit it open and looking pretty bad, but they are down towards that 106 support. So maybe they can hit here and end up going up, but it's not looking too good for them right now. Just looking at the max daily chart, it almost looks like, I know we were talking about this a little while ago, Mike, but these red candles keep coming in and it almost looks like a dead cat bounce is coming pretty soon.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's getting a little rough. What do you think of Boeing, Tom? Like, I'm really, really eyeing this one for some short puts.
Yeah, me too. Boeing looks awesome. I think my chart is like my chart's having some problems. It's like having some lag or something. Sorry if you guys keep seeing it move around like that, but yeah, Boeing's looking crazy today. Really falling again. Not below the low of yesterday yet, but who knows? We might get below there. I have a good support around 220, and I'm with you. I think I would sell some puts on this one too. Just looking at it on like the max daily. I mean, man, there's definitely a lot of growth to the upside, but there is a lot of potential for it to move down as well. But I think it's at a good time to kind of start to get into shares and maybe average in. So I wouldn't be against like selling some puts right here to start to make an opening position.
All right. And then VSCO, Tom, Victoria's Secret, that one's selling off a little bit today. Looks like they have earnings pretty soon.
Yeah, and look at them on the daily. I mean, they were doing so strong for a while, and now they're just, like you said, selling off. They have earnings coming up. I would almost expect them to do decent with earnings going on. They did actually pop up towards the end of the day yesterday, but it's really hard to say. No one knows how the earnings are going to go. They're generally like good for retail, but they've been big in the online industry as well. So it's going to be hard to say, but I will think that they would do better on earnings than not. But with the stock being up so much, they'll probably go down anyways.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what else is moving. Looks like Microsoft is trying to pop to the upside. We have Redfin down 2.5%. RCL down 2%. The leader on my watch list so far today is actually Tesla.
Is it? Yeah, let's see. Tesla, mine too, actually, up like, what is it, 1.9%? That, it's a bad day whenever 1.9% leads your watch list.
True.
But Tesla's looking pretty good, actually. And like you said, it has a lot of momentum. It opened today. If we are getting towards that 680 resistance that I was seeing there, you could say around 682 maybe, but I will say I like the movement today. Hopefully we get up and retest that $700 resistance level over the next few days. I think that level is going to be huge.
All right. And then we have Alex saying AMC took a nosedive. So great eye, Alex. I actually kind of forgot about this one. So look at all those sellers that came in right at open, Tom. Like, it tried so hard to run and just got rejected.
Man, that was bad to see. It hit that high of yesterday around 38.75. You could say 38.70. Just tanked right down. Bad news for AMC right now, and I hate to see it. Look at this. We got this bottom support around $36 here. Maybe we'll go down there and hit that today and maybe go back up. I'd like to see it, but yeah, we're down through the 1,000 SMA. Not a good sign. And I can't believe we kind of fell through $37. I thought maybe we'd hold up right there, but not looking good at all. And you're right, that turnaround was definitely a big one. We were looking at AMC initially as a pretty big momentum play to the upside. They were starting to really run there for a few minutes, and then they just really turned it around.
Absolutely. All right, and then we have Umar saying, good morning, guys. What do you guys think of SAVA? I bought some shares on the last dip. Should I take profit now, or is it going up more? So I think the best way to go is to sell a portion of your position. That's kind of like the midpoint of, taking profits and then like also holding. If you just sell out a little bit, I think that would be a smart idea. I don't know what price you're in at or how many shares or anything like that, but I would really consider just like selling a portion.
Yeah, that's almost what I would do too. And I hope he's referring to that last dip where they fell down to like $70. That would have been a really good, dip to buy on. And, we are sitting at $100. I think $100 will end up being a pretty good support right now. It looks like it is kind of bouncing up today. So maybe you'll be able to get it to go back up, but it's hard to say. I would say kind of average out right now too. It does look like it's starting to come down. We did have those couple big red candles, and maybe expect like one or two smaller green candles, but I could maybe see a lot more red candles come in after this. I mean, this was a pretty bad, past couple days there.
All right. And then we have Vicky saying, hit the like. Yeah, guys, if you guys enjoy the stream, it would help Tom and myself out so much if you could hit the like button. It takes like 2 seconds, and we'd really, really appreciate it. And then Vicky was also asking about Dash, DASH, and it's trending up pretty well, Tom. They just reported earnings, and they're holding their ground, and I just like the way it's, just like this nice, slow and steady uptrend. I think it looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it does actually. It looks pretty good. And, it's starting to break out of a lot of these resistance levels and it's holding its ground. So I really like it too. And they had earnings and, the earnings weren't necessarily that good. But I will say, though, that they ended up going up on them. So that's a good sign. And hopefully they end up, going up over the next few months. They've been kind of thrown into like that like Uber and like Lyft kind of sector. So we'll just have to see how that sector does.
All right. And then we have Jay saying, any thoughts on Moderna? So, Jay, I'm actually really, really eyeing out some put debit spreads on it. Like the options are pretty expensive. So, like if you just wanted to buy like a naked put, if you want any quality in that option, like it'll probably cost you at least 10 grand. So I was really eyeing like some put debit spreads on it. Let me take a look at some of the spreads I was eyeing out. I was looking at like maybe the September or October puts, like maybe long the, I don't know, maybe like the 470 puts and short the maybe like 290 puts. I don't know. I'm looking at a bunch of different spreads right now. So it's just like, it's on my watch list, but I feel like it could fall a lot more still.
Yeah, I do too. It came right down to that 390 support today. Hit right off that 1,000 SMA too, and is just going back up very slightly intraday. I could see it keep going down as well. And just looking at it on the daily is where I could really see it keep going down. But overall, I think Moderna could go down. And it's just looking at it, we've been really eyeing it up for puts over the past few weeks, and it was like really on fire for a few days. And it seemed like ever since those earnings came out, it just really crushed them.
Yep. All right, and then we have Corbin saying, I know I bought AMC on the high. Uh-oh, how's it doing now? So AMC is, it's down like 1% or so, so it's trying to hold its ground. Hopefully it pops up. It is making a higher low, which is good.
Yeah, that's a good sign, and it did only fall like 1 or 2 points, so it's not like it fell too much for AMC. Like you said, only down 1%. It could be a lot worse. We've seen some days where, AMC's like went up and down like 5 to 10%, and, even on days like, not on the days like where it was having big hype either. Like just on some of these days on the way down, we've seen some big movement like that with some big wicks on some of these daily candles. And, AMC is just really hard to trade. Unfortunately, it double topped up there. So I really hate to see that. And if we fall below this 100 SMA and we start to fall back below like $36, I'll have to start looking at it back to the downside. But, I am happy that we hit $30 and we got that, a nice 8-point bounce off of that. That was pretty nice. And, congrats to everybody who caught it on that support.
All right. And then let's see. So I'm just looking to see what's moving today.
Pfizer's looking pretty good.
What is?
Pfizer actually is like back up to all-time highs again.
Oh, good eye. Yeah, it is popping, Tom. Great eye there. I kind of missed it.
Yeah, Pfizer's doing pretty decent. They're not up too much, only 1.4%, but just compared to a lot of their other moves, it's pretty significant. And they're running up to all-time highs. And, we have Moderna starting to really fall off from their highs. And, I know Pfizer was looking awesome at $50. If we go back and we look at the max weekly, we're breaking the all-time high from back in like 1999 and 2000. So, it's nice to see it running up, but at some point, I think that we're going to turn around kind of like Moderna did. But the question is when, and I don't know how much more days this can kind of continue on for, but maybe we'll go up towards 55 and then start falling. But I'll definitely start eyeing this one up for puts or, maybe a spread as well.
Good stuff. All right. And then also, Tom, we have, looks like MU is popping up a decent amount to the upside, which is good. But actually what I'm really looking at again is VIAC. VIAC, in my opinion, actually has a lot of potential.
Yeah, it does actually. And looking at it, there's definitely a lot of room back up given, this big rise that they had. it's definitely has some potential to get back up there. It is kind of risky, I think, just given that big drop. But like you said, there was a big catalyst that went on with that. So, you can't really look at it in that sense. But I really like it as far as like with it being at support and everything like that. Looks pretty solid. And there is a lot of upside potential. I do also like MU. I'm glad you brought that one up. With it sitting there at $70, I think that looks pretty solid. And I'm glad to see it popping up off of this $70 support. I was pretty worried about it continuing to fall off down below there, but I'm glad to see it at least holding up for right now.
There we go. Then we have Corbin saying, FOMC, I'm looking at GLD later today. So, yeah, GLD, it's been having a great week. I know it struggled a lot 2 weeks ago, but, and especially with the news that Palantir is buying it up. I mean, I know it's only 50 million, which it's not like it's going to move the entire market price of gold, but still it's good news.
Yeah, it's good news, and they're buying physical gold. So, like, maybe they're going to hold it for a long time. I have no idea, but it does seem like it's pretty good right now. And, keep in mind, it's not like there's like an FOMC meeting today, though. It's just the minutes are coming out where it's just going to kind of like highlight what Powell was talking about. It's just going to show like more of like the specifics. So it's not like there's like a new FOMC meeting or anything like that. So don't expect too much movement from this.
All right. And then we have Hunter saying CREE fell hard. Let's take a look. Wow, 10%. 10% to the downside. Yeah, it's looking a little rough.
What was the ticker?
CREE.
Oh, CREE. Okay, yeah, that one's a pretty strange one. Yeah, looking like it's pretty rough today. Yeah, coming down to support. I'd say there's a pretty big support at like $75. So hopefully we can hit somewhere around there, kind of like where we did today, and maybe go back up. But really hard to say with this one, Mike. I mean, those bad earnings were looking pretty bad for them, and it looks like they might just start falling off on the daily. Nobody knows. Personally, I don't think I'd grab shares of this one, but definitely look into their fundamentals and stuff. And if you like them, I think it would be a good idea to maybe sell some puts here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then we have Raphael saying, good morning, PFE, baby. 50 calls and 52 strike calls expiring August 27th. There we go. It's ripping up for you. I hope it really continues up because I know actually a lot of people are in it.
Yeah, on the 1 year daily, it's just been crazy. Ever since we broke out above 42.60, we've just been straight up. Really, I hope it keeps going for you too. The IV is even popping up, which is really helping out everyone who's holding these calls. Like, man, this IV is almost up 100% from a couple months ago, Mike. This is kind of getting crazy with PFE.
Yeah, it's lots of good movement. And then we have Keisha saying UPS in the gap fill begins. Bought 51 contracts at the bottom at 190, already up 3,500. There we go, Keisha. That looks awesome. I'm curious to know what strike price and expiration you have, but that's awesome. So, awesome job. And then Keisha also said CRM is looking tasty. Yeah, it's up like 2%. Just one thing to watch out for is that they have earnings pretty soon, and they actually have earnings on August 25th after the market closes.
Yeah, and I was eyeing up CRM a few months ago. I thought they were looking pretty good on that dip. I know a lot of people have been really looking into like Salesforce, and a lot of people have been buying up shares on the dip as well. I can't remember, but I think Kathy's pretty big on this one, Mike, but or maybe she's not, but I know that CRM's pretty big anyways. I hear about it all over the place. They've had pretty good earnings too, so hopefully this earnings can go well. And I'll be honest, it's been consolidating in this range for a while now, and I would almost expect it to go up and retest high soon.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, so Moderna is now down almost 3%, and it looks like they're testing that 390 support. The next levels I'm seeing is like right around 380, and then after that, the next major one's like 350 or 360.
Yeah, 380 I think is going to be pretty big for today, and then like you said, 360, 350 after that. But the downwards momentum does look pretty strong for Moderna right now, and it's falling below the 1,000 SMA on the 1 minute, and man, it's looking pretty bad. We've been really eyeing it up to the downside, and who knows that with this little pop we had yesterday, it might be a good time to enter those spreads.
Alrighty. And then we have, so Keisha has the 210 strike UPS calls for September 17th. So I really like how you have time. That's awesome. Just one thing to keep in mind is that the the strike price is kind of far out of the money. So you might want to either turn the play into a spread or just be careful on the time aspect of it, because the real value of those options are zero as of right now. They have no real intrinsic value. It's all time value because it's out of the money. But either way, it looks great, and awesome job with that dip buy. And then let's take a look at. Tom, I can't stop looking at Pfizer. I'm trying to talk about stocks that are moving, but Pfizer's just on the top of the list.
Yeah, it is. It just keeps growing and it's getting stronger by the moment here. It looks like on the 1 minute, looks like 5150 might be posing as a bit of an intraday resistance here. We've got 2 red candles on the 1 minute chart. So who knows? We might see some red come out of this right now, but I could definitely see it going up later today, maybe. And man, they just continue up every day. The candle today is actually pretty big, so maybe they will start to slow down. But, I'll be honest, it looks like they could possibly continue for the next couple days. This is definitely something like a Moderna or a Target. Moderna just kept going and going and going. And, every day we thought it would stop. It just kept rising. And I feel like Pfizer's kind of in that same type of movement right now. But, I think it will eventually start to come down. The question is when.
What are you thinking about Lowe's, Tom? They're up 10% after just a horrible day yesterday.
Yeah, you're right, actually. That's a pretty big move they had back up. Their earnings were actually fantastic, Mike. They beat on their EPS by quite a bit. I mean, not too much, but 4.25 actual versus a 3.986 estimate. So looks like they did beat pretty strong on that. I wasn't able to see their revenue yet, but man, this is an awesome move. I hope that they can continue up as well. And they are at the resistance around $200 even again, but I hope that they can break that and go up because these earnings were great. It might take a few days though, so watch out for that. But I really like the movement here, and definitely watch out for $200.
There we go. All right. And then also we have Home Depot kind of moving up with Lowe's, which I guess you can expect that because they're, very close competitors and they move pretty, they move together basically. So that's that. Looks like Fubo is tanking off a little bit. They're retesting that 25 support. And then one other stock I want to talk about was TTCF. So I know a lot of people are kind of, they're like, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there that I know that like this stock, and they're down so much in the past month or so. So I figured I'd just point it out for everyone. I don't think it looks horrible for some short puts. I mean, it's not my favorite setup in the world, but if you're looking for a speculative play, this one isn't bad.
Oh man, look at this on my daily chart. I've had this drawn on here for I don't even know how long now. I haven't even looked at this stock in a few months or something, but I came back to it and we actually fell down to the bottom trend line here on this huge wedge pattern, fell right below it, and looks like we're really moving down below it. So personally, this one scares me. I don't think I'd enter this one. But, I hope it ends up going up. I know a lot of people have been talking about it as well. And I see a big support around $15. So maybe we'll be able to bounce somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of holding its ground. But like I said, it's definitely more of a risky play. Just looking at their EPS, over the past couple of quarters, it looks like they haven't been the best. This past earnings, they were expected to have earnings of minus 0.01 and it came in at minus 0.76. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And it broke that trend line and it just has a few bad things going on all at one time. Unfortunately, it broke that trend line as the bad earnings happened. So, there's a few bad scenarios. Like I said, good support around $15. Hopefully it holds there. If it breaks that, I would really look at possibly selling it, but always trust your gut if you guys like the stock. It could end up going up in the long term pretty well. And, lots of people have been talking it up. So hopefully it can turn itself around. But personally, the technicals just look really bad.
All right, Tom, what are you thinking about Hood? They're kind of popping up right ahead of their earnings report.
Yeah, it's been a few days since we talked about Hood. And, they have been pulling back, like you said, pretty big pullback. And, man, this earnings is going to be nuts with them, actually. After close today, I think this is going to be a pretty big stock to eye out. And you're right, it is having a pretty nice pop this morning. That's a pretty big voluminous candle too. So hopefully we can see, Hood end up popping up into earnings, and maybe we'll see them end up going up after earnings because you would think that they'd make quite a bit of money with given what they do, the way they sell their users data and everything. Like who knows? Like they might come out with some pretty big revenue numbers, and they haven't really reported any numbers since they came on the market. So this is going to be a pretty big deal, I think. It's going to kind of set the tone for kind of like how their fundamentals are going to be.
Good stuff. All right, so a stock that I like that's actually having a bad day is PENN. This one's down a decent amount today. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's looking bad, unfortunately. Another down day. But they are down towards that 65 support, which is good. But man, there's a big support also around 60. I'm not sure about Penn right now. It looks so hard, Mike, on the daily and everything. I want it to bounce off support so bad. There's a lot of other stocks having the same movement, like Win and LVS and other ones. Even they just keep continuing to go down. Hopefully they can bounce off supports because it seems like they're all getting pretty close. So we might see a bounce out of them pretty soon, but it's just looking pretty scary right now. And I still think Penn's pretty good for shares, though. Even though it's not good for maybe like an option that expires in like a month or a couple months. I think it'll be really good for shares if you just hold them for the long term and maybe sell some calls on the way up or something.
Yeah, I agree. And then we have W saying UPST, please. So Tom, we have a new high on UPST. It's up like 7% on the day, and it's just breaking out as we speak.
Man, new all-time highs. That's awesome. Almost up to 215 or higher, 214.85 on the high. I cannot believe we're breaking that high, Mike. That's pretty crazy to see. It held those levels really nice. And I thought we were going to see a little bit of a downturn over the next couple days, but I'm glad to see it breaking out. And you're right, it just continues to go up ever since it had that little gap up there. It's just been looking so solid, and it's just awesome, up 7%. I know lots of people have been buying into it as well. And, out of every stock today, there's not too many stocks really like flying up necessarily, but Upstart is like one of those stocks that's just in such a solid setup, has a lot of momentum to it today. And it's just been straight up all morning. Like we haven't had too much, crazy up and down movement. Sure, it went down for a few minutes, but other than that one little downturn, it's been almost straight up.
There we go. So like what levels are you watching on it?
Yeah, I mean, if they start to pull back, I think there's going to be a pretty big support right around 212. I think that'll be pretty big as far as back to the downside. To the upside, it's really hard to say. There's not any levels, of course. They're breaking out to all-time highs. I would say watch for like 220. We're 4 points away from that. So I would say watch out there. The green candle looks like it's getting pretty big. It could get a little bigger, though, like looking at a few of these other days that we've had. So who knows? Maybe we'll end up hitting like 10% or something like that on UPST. But I would say watch out for 220 at the upper level and then watch for 212 at the bottom.
All right, and then what are you thinking about X? They're up like 4% on the day, and it looks like they might retest that high of like right around 30.
Yeah, they might. And, X has been pretty solid the past couple weeks, and they've been really flying back up after having that little bit of a little pullback for like about a month there. And it's just been flying up with these high steel prices and everything. And I think that it looks like they might actually break out above 30, Mike. I mean, it looks pretty solid, but that resistance is going to be big. So I would say at this point, with them being so close, make them break out before you buy in. But I will say I like the trade, and if they break 30, it should be a pretty good move on that break. That's a pretty big resistance there.
All right, and then we have Chris saying, good morning, fellas. What stocks do you think are worth looking at with what's going on in Afghanistan, if any at all? So great question. Certain stocks that come to mind are like Lockheed Martin. You could say GD. You could also say RTX. You could even say Boeing. And then the other one was NOC. So those ones like are like defense stocks, but it's weird because they're not really like moving up too much on with everything that we have going on. So I would put those on your watch list, but honestly, it looks like they're not even really moving.
Yeah, they're not really moving much at all. And I would expect them to maybe go up if we get more news with Afghanistan. But Unfortunately, it looks like, well, I guess I shouldn't say unfortunately, it depends, your opinion, I guess, but we're pulling out of Afghanistan and it looks like we're not going to really retaliate too much to anything going on right now. So maybe that's kind of why these are going down. Initially they had those nice green candles on maybe, like the anticipation of like, maybe like some action going on or something, but it looks like we're just going to kind of like peacefully like let them take it. So I think that they were kind of looking at maybe like more of like a war scenario, but it looks like we're kind of like going in the opposite direction of that. So maybe it'll make these stocks kind of go down because now we're out of Afghanistan and they might not even be using them anymore, or they'll be using them, but not for not as much as they were, So maybe
Yeah.
some use will go down or who knows, but we'll have to see what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean, like they are defense stocks. Just like Tom said, like they're not like, like they're not getting the action that you would think they would. So I don't know. Maybe put them on your watch list. I'm definitely gonna watch them over like the next couple months or so. And if we see some movement, they can definitely be a play. And then we have Sean saying, I like X to the downside. Looks like a triple top about to repeat movement of the last 2 days. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against that, Sean. They're holding their ground right now, but I can see it actually.
Yeah, I could see it too. If it ends up hitting around 30 or even triple topping like over those past couple days, I could see it going down. And, to be honest, I would not be surprised. Steel prices have been up for quite a while now. And if it hit right here and went down, I wouldn't be too sad. But I hope it ends up breaking this and goes up because I think it could be a pretty good breakout play. And just with the way steel and kind of like inflation's been, I would think it could possibly get up. But that's a huge resistance and there's a huge wall around 30. So definitely look for it to hit there and go down.
Good stuff. All right, so it looks like Target is making a pretty nice recovery back to the upside.
It is actually getting all the way back up towards like 255, hitting like 254.25 here today. Yeah, looking pretty decent on the recovery. They had those decent earnings. So I'm glad to see it kind of going back up. And I'm glad to see it not just dying off, but hopefully, it gets that movement back down for us, for our sake. But I like it still to the downside. It's just as of right now, with those good earnings, it is popping up at open. And sometimes we see this, earnings will come out and the stock will fly up. And then at open, it'll start to tank off, or it'll tank down, and then at open, it'll come up a little bit. I would say just give it a day or two, and maybe we'll start to see it go down again.
All righty. So, Tom, do you have like any specific stocks you're watching for the rest of the day or anything like that?
I was really eyeing up a couple plays on like credit cards actually. Like I was looking at MasterCard and Visa card, and MasterCard's actually sitting right on support right now, right at, let's see, it's kind of hard there. It's such a high level, right at like 358, it looks like. And it looks like, they've had like some like consolidation, some consolidation the past couple days, and then they've had some doji candles or doge candles here as well. And I might expect them to go up off this support. They've been going down a little bit the past couple days, and if we can start to see these stocks go back up, I think it would be a pretty nice play here off support with MasterCard, Visa sitting right on that 100 SMA, and they're kind of on support as well. So maybe watch for a little bit of a pop, but they could keep going down, but MasterCard at least looks like it's on a solid support.
All right, so I'm really watching VIAC. It's more of a risky play, but I feel like the setup looks pretty decent, and they're almost up 5% on the day. They've been struggling a lot to break out, and now they have a catalyst and good momentum, so it's definitely on my watch, and it's been a pretty strong runner in the past. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. We're in for a big week, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope you have an amazing rest of your day.